Oh, you get an ass whoop. It's going down. Real sales. Ooh, goddamn. Uh-oh, here go another one. Oh, damn. Them motherfuckers hurt. Get us some milk. She needs some milk. Get us some milk.
That's gonna do it. She let it go.
Get us some milk. She needs some milk. Oh, another one.
Hey family, what's up? Welcome into the very first episode of the Hood Politic. I am the Hood Politic. I go by the name Desiree to my family and friends. And if you are listening to this or watching this right now, then guess what? You are now family. Okay, family. So the clip you just heard, little hood clip that takes us into a place that I'm pretty sure we all familiar with, little hood by the name of Alabama. But in the clip that you just heard, if you listen to the audio recording of this, or in the clip you just watched, if you're watching the visual recording of this, which I hope you guys will tune in to watch, is a clip of, to just put it plainly, somebody getting their ass whooped. So Shorty in the pink is like seriously throwing hands. She's like pop, 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 pop. And shout out to whoever the narrator is, because he made the commentary 10 times more enjoyable to watch. Now, please know, family, that us here at the Hood Politic, we do not condone violence in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But sometimes what they say, don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But guys, as we get into the start of the episode, allow me to get into my feelings a little bit. So I want to give you a little bit of the backstory as to why I even decided or wanted to begin this project called the Hood Politic. So my goal with this is to educate, entertain, and enlighten just by using everyday social media content. And I want to do this surrounding the field of civics and politics. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. Before we start, I want you guys to know that I only have 3 rules when it comes to engagement. And I do want you guys to engage. I do want you guys to have fun. I do want you guys to enjoy listening to this, because that's the whole point of this, is to educate us, to entertain, and to make sure you guys are actually enjoying the content and the product. But my 3 rules, very simple. Be fair, be factual, and be respectful. That's all I ask. In the comments, if you're tagging us, anything like that, just be fair, be factual, be respectful. Of course, I want you guys to have fun and all that. And please know that ain't nobody over this way sensitive. So if you guys decide y'all want to get into a roast contest or roast surrounding the content, all I want to know is if you tag me and you come for me, please, please, please don't ghost me once I start getting back on you, okay? Because ain't nothing over this way sensitive. But without further ado, guys, let's get into it, because I'm extremely to talk about the topic that we're going to talk about today. So, of course, we just watched a clip of, like I said, quite frankly, some people fighting, throwing some hands. So my prompt engagement question I want to start with, family, have you ever been in a fight? And when I say been in a fight, I mean, as we say in hood slangs, hood terms, you ever had to really throw hands with somebody? You ever had to check somebody real quick and it got physical? So if you're a family member listening, you say, no, I ain't never really been in a fight. Okay, so don't think fight. I want you to think physical altercation, or maybe a disagreement or dispute, whatever the case may be. But in this terms, we're just going to say fighting, right? Throwing hands. So even though the circumstances surrounding our fight may be a little different, there's pretty much some core principles when it comes to fighting we can all agree on. Now, my next question is, do you remember any specifics that led up to the fight? Like what caused the interaction, what caused things to go left? Now, it's possible that your memory of the fight and when the fight occurred could be contingent upon, the outcome of the fight. If you won, then I'm pretty sure that's a memory that, you might want to pop your collar a little bit on, or one that you like, oh, yeah, I remember when that happened with such and such. Something you want to remind your kids, your grandkids of, something like that, just family meeting type stuff. But then if you lost the fight, or if the outcome of the fight didn't really go the way you wanted to go, or there were some bad circumstances surrounding the issue, then I'm pretty sure you probably don't even remember that memory. Pretty sure it probably stings a little bit. So you place that one all the way in the back of your mind. But I want you guys to know that when it comes to politics, it's extremely similar. The stuff is very similar. So core principles surrounding the fight is, whenever it comes to you fighting anyone, you want to exploit the weakness of your opponent. So you just want to say, whatever the weakness of my opponent is, that's the weakness I'm going to exploit. That's what I'm going to go after. Give me a minute here, family. But it's very simple. When it comes to fighting, you want to be able to exploit and take advantage of things that your opponent does not see coming. So when it comes to politics, this stuff is extremely similar. Politicians are always looking for the next leg up. They're always looking for advantages, and they're always looking for ways to get what it is they need and what it is they want. So when you consider political squabble or political, conflict, I kind of want you to get the sense of that first clip that I just showed, mixed with a whole bunch of other stuff that you're going to see later on. But anyways, when you're fighting and you find that weakness and you exploit that weakness, it's kind of like a, bring that ass here now, because I know exactly what I need. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, I'm getting a little too excited. But that's what it is. So in the clip that you're going to hear after this, as Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett basically giving a verbal lashing and beatdown to Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with it. It went viral. But in a sense, in that clip, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett didn't even tell Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene to bring that ass here. She went over there, picked her up, and dragged her over there to where she is. It was a complete verbal lashing and meltdown.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's part of it.
I'm trying to find clarification on what qualifies.
Chairman, motion to strike those words.
I had no idea what you just said.
But guys, I said all that to say it's the same. Politics is the same. It doesn't matter if you are squabbling about bills. It doesn't matter if you're squabbling about trying to get your legislation on the floor. It doesn't matter if you're squabbling, as we just seen, to reduce healthcare subsidies or even to increase them so that you can give billionaires tax pays and tax cuts. At the end of the day, just like we fighting out here and we squabbling out here and we throwing hands out here over disputes and disagreements we have, they're doing the same thing in politics. But what we have to understand when it comes to politics is the fights and the fighting that goes on in politics. It has the ability to affect us on a much grander scale and on a much larger scale. So the clip that you guys are going to watch in a bit here is a clip that I want you to pay very close attention to. So in this clip, it's actually a brawl in the Mexican Senate. So a little backstory, I did a little bit of research, but this brawl kind of was centered around a dispute that happened via legislation involving the Mexican Senate and the cartel. So in this clip that you watch in this Mexican Senate, it's actually a brawl. Like, they don't play games. They actually throw hands, kind of like you did, kind of like you saw in the first clip that I showed. But I wanted to show you guys that just to show you that just like heightened tensions can lead to physical disagreements and disputes in our world, the same thing happens in the world of politics.
The Guardian News showing the shocking moment when Mexico's Senate descended into chaos during a heated parliamentary debate. The session had just ended with lawmakers singing the national anthem when PRI leader Alejandro Alito Moreno grabbed and slapped Senate President Gerardo Fernandez Noroña, who reacted by flailing back. The confrontation escalated. Punches were thrown, aides were knocked over, and one senator even swung at the podium. Fernandez Noronha later accused Moreno of threatening to beat the shit out of you and kill you, which Moreno defended as a response to perceived suppression of opposition voices. In response, Noronha announced an emergency session to propose expelling Moreno and his allies and filed a criminal complaint accusing him of inciting violence. Moreno, in turn, accused the ruling party of manipulating the legislative agenda for political gain. This staggering brawl reveals how divided politics in Mexico has become, where disagreements over national security have spilled off the podium and into...
But this brawl, as you're going to see, family, it went all the way left. So the hands that were thrown, like the hands that were thrown in the beginning of this episode, does it even reach a resolution? Are they even able to continue after this? I'm pretty sure kind of not, because let's just be honest. After you get into a fight with somebody, are you seriously about to be sitting up here indulging in full-on conversation with these people regarding the fight and what happened? No, you don't even want to look at them. So I'm pretty sure we can imagine that something similar happened around this, but like I said, I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to these clips that I'm going to play. I want you guys to engage and give me your thoughts about it. And I want you guys to kind of compare and contrast and, show the similarities between the fights and the fights that didn't happen. But anyways, family, on to that. Now we're going to kind of get into a little bit of the facts surrounding everything. So 2025 recent polling analysis from several reliable sources that we have from the Harvard and Yale poll, from the AP NORC poll, and from Pew Research Center all report that younger adults are less engaged with politics. Now, for some of you, that may not be anything new. That may not be news to anyone else. But if you're someone who's listening to this for the first time, or someone who's just kind of browsing and you kind of come across this, I want you to kind of now begin to think about where you fall in this category. Are you someone who follows politics very closely? Are you someone who follows politics loosely? Or are you just someone who don't even bother to follow politics at all? So I want you to kind of begin to think, okay, where do I fall in this category? And then I want you to begin to think about why you fall into this category. But back onto our statistics, our data. So according to these polls, the top 3 reasons why younger adults, and we're talking about a specific age demographic, an age demographic of 18 to 35 for the first portion of this. According to our 3 reasons why in these polls, the first reason why is there is a deep distrust in political leaders and institutions on the part of 18 through 35-year-olds in the, American age demographic. The second reason why is financial and economic pressures. Okay, makes sense, right? The third reason why, according to these polls, younger adults aged 18 through 35 are less engaged with politics is social issues and culture. So, quite frankly, family, the totality is this simple. When you consider a deep distrust in political leaders and political institutions, I want you to think back to your mayor, your governor, your attorney general. Hopefully, you know who those people are. But if you don't, it's okay. After this, I want you to go take a deep dive and I want you to just go look. But when I say a deep distrust in political leaders, I'm actually referencing, do you trust your governor, your mayor, your attorney general? Do you trust these people to make the best decisions surrounding not only you, but you and the rest of your constituents, the people that they are actually called to serve? Do you trust them to make decisions that serve your best interest or your child's best interest? Most likely not, right? So, okay, second on the list is financial and economic pressures. And guys, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? But we all live a different soul's experience. That's something we all know. But of course, there are challenges that we all face. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, and I mean, that's myself included, so don't take offense in any way, we're not a part of the 1%. Now, a lot of us, we've had to work hard on jobs, whether it be, blue collar, whether it be upper middle class, whatever the case may be. If you went to school and you educated yourself to get into a particular field, either way it goes, you had to put hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into that to get the result that you wanted. Well, when we talking about the 1%, that ain't what we talking about. But that's a lot of the distrust that we harbor when it comes to politicians. And guys, I don't want us to think that our distrust in political leadership isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We need to approach every single circumstance and situation with a little bit of skepticism. But when we talk about deep distrust in political leaders, that's what we mean. People don't trust them to make great decisions surrounding them. And then when they don't make great decisions and we're faced with hard economic hardship like every single day, it gets kind of tough. Now, the necessities that we all need, like shelter, food, electricity, and healthcare, like those are all things that, let's just be honest, we cannot go without. Now, of course, there are people, family, there's going to be members of this who's listening to this who maybe don't have one of those direct necessities that I just named. But at the end of the day, those are things that, let's just be honest, we all have to have in this physical soul's experience in order to live. Most of us, you have to have shelter. You have to have a roof over your head. Might not be the best one to you. You might have issues and problems with it, but guess what? At the end of the day, you have somewhere to lay your head. The next one, electricity. Let's be 100. If you have a shelter or a home, you have to have electricity. You have to make sure you have lights, and of course there's things that a lot of us may not do, like TVs, Wi-Fi, things like that. But for the most part, you need electricity to power your home. So those are necessities, things you cannot go without. But it doesn't matter your shelter, your electricity provider, who it is you choose to use. We can all agree that at some point in time in this soul's experience, you are going to need monetary funds to ensure that you, your kids, your family members, the people that you love, to ensure that they don't go without. Now, for young people who are in their earning years, and if you don't know what earning years is, like I said, that's a whole nother topic. Can't really get into it now, but we'll deep dive maybe a little bit later. But for young people like myself, if you guys must know, 32 years of age, when you're in your earning years, it presents an extremely significant challenge because every single day you're faced with, how can I educate myself and gain, necessary tools and experience in a career field that I choose, pay my bills, all while saving and preparing for my future. So, it's something that, like I said, it presents an extremely significant challenge. So shout out to my age demographic that's 18 to 35-year-olds who really out here doing it, and you got everything figured out. Baby, okay, then that may not be for you. But for a lot of the rest of us, yeah, every single day we're faced with real life decisions. And a lot of those decisions can be surrounded by monetary value. So that's that. But guys, when you're played and faced with different things like that every single day, like I said, I understand it gets hard to pay attention to the political structure, especially when, I'm going to insert a little fact here for you guys. The average rent in the United States generally falls between $1,700 and $2,000 a month. So if you're somewhere like, I don't know, let's just be honest, like a New York or California, of course you're seeing higher end prices that way. If you're somewhere maybe like a Tennessee or Alabama, your prices may not be that. But the average rent in the United States falls between $1,700 to $2,000 a month. And let's just be honest, most people struggle to pay that month in and month out. So, guys, all that to say, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't matter who you are. At some point in time, you are going to need money to navigate life in this country. Like, that's just a fact. So the third reason on the list is social and cultural issues. So I just want you all to consider, your homes for a second. So consider your homes, consider your families, And I'm pretty sure you don't have to think very long before you're able to find a difference of opinion that you share with people who are around your age demographic versus the opinions and thoughts that's shared by your younger family members. It's the same. So for my family that's listening, that's above the age of 35, you 35 plus, you on into your 40s, on into your 50s, and hey, of course, on into your 60s. If you've ever wondered whether or not your younger constituents, ages 18 to 35, if they feel misunderstood, then yes, they most definitely feel misunderstood by the older population. And again, like I said, it's displayed through all of the polls and all of the data that we see. But in order for us to engage more youth and get more youth engaged and a part of this process, we are going to have to first, before we can even ask for participation, first we got to bridge the gap between the social issues and the culture. Now, I want to switch lanes a little bit, family, and I want to focus on the other side of our family. You know, our age demographic of our 35 plus. Now, I'm saying 35 plus just because when it comes to looking at polling and data and statistics, it makes it a lot easier for me to break down 18 to 35 to 35 plus versus be going 35, then on into 40s, on into 50s, and on into 60s. So a lot of this is going to be a broad spectrum based off of the age demographic 35 plus, okay? So wherever you fall into this category, I just want you to kind of think there. But let's switch lanes a little bit. Let's talk about that age demographic. So again, according to multiple polls taken by Harvard, polls taken by CAPS, polls taken by Pew Research Center, they all highlights nuances in older voters. So this basically showed us that when it comes to older voters are often split between the policy decisions of a political candidate that they're choosing to represent versus the personal approval of some of the leaders. So most older Americans, and hey, my 35 plus age demographic, don't be upset at me. Don't get upset at me, okay? But according to the data in the polling, if most age demographic people 35 plus, they appear to be more trusting of political leaders than those, their younger constituents. So what are the three biggest issues that's prioritized by the age demographic of 35 plus? So I want you guys to pay attention to this and see if you can catch some similarities and let me know where you see the difference is at. So according to our polling data, the three major issues that our age demographic of 35 plus are really drawn to is economy, /inflation, /cost of living. So you can just kind of merge all of that into one thing. And whether you want to look at it from an economy perspective, whether you want to look at it from an inflation perspective or cost of living perspective, it's pretty much all the same. But simply put, family, this shit is too damn high. Let's just be 100. And adults that are in that age demographic of that 35 plus, again, a lot of them are considered to be either in the middle of their earning years or nearing the start of their returning years. And their circumstances are going to be different than those of someone younger than them. So they are more concerned about things like Social Security and preparing themselves for retirement. Like, it's difficult to do that when you're living paycheck to paycheck, right? So this automatically falls us into the next category. And the next category is healthcare and Social Security. Now, for my younger family members, demographic that's 18 through, 35 plus, a lot of them, they aren't even seriously considering a lot of things like healthcare and Social Security. So again, like I said, just prompt a little bit of engagement here. If you fall between this age demographic of 18 and 35, I want you to let me know something, family. When was the first time you actually went to look at a healthcare plan and actually decided, like, okay, yeah, I need a healthcare plan? Let's just be 100, family. When you're young, you kind of move with a different swagger, right? You kind of have that feeling as if you're invincible. So you're not concerned about a lot of things. But when you're in this age demographic of 35 to 55, you're most definitely concerned about healthcare and Social Security. And again, I want to insert a fact for you guys, because here at the Hood Politic, we all about fact, baby. All about the facts. And this is a fact. The fact is the average price for a healthcare plan in the United States of America ranges from about $450 a month to $600 a month. A fact, right? Even when you have plans that are through an employer. If you're paying on that plan and that premium through your employer, you're still going to spend on average of about $130 a month. And guess what? That's if you're single. That doesn't include if you have family. So for most people in the age demographic of 35 to 55, what? They're married, they have kids, they have families. So when they consider healthcare and Social Security, they're not just thinking of themselves. They're thinking of the big picture. They're seeing it all. And I'm not saying that my younger demographic isn't, but guys, let's just be honest. Maturity, sometimes for some people, it got to come with age. So everyone doesn't see big picture. But now we going to hop into the third aspect of this. Now, something that I just said, guys, when I say it's difficult to consider healthcare, Social Security, and all these other factors, and do that when you're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, like I said, this is very broad. Everyone does not fall into this category. But let's just be 100. If you are a blue-collar worker, middle class, if you're someone who's getting out there grinding, you hitting every single day. If you are blessed to be in a state that has upped the federal minimum wage, then you may not be doing too bad. But in my states, where they are still deadlocked in on a federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, please tell me how you can afford an apartment that's $1,700 to $2,000 a month. Tell me how you're going to afford a healthcare premium, even if through an employer, that's $130 a month. At that point, you pretty much pinching pennies. So, guys, like I said, we have to think big picture. But on to our third and final priority for Americans that are age demographic of 35 to 55 plus when it comes to voting issues. The next priority listed on all of this, guys, for the top voters around this age is immigration and border security. And when I say immigration and border security, I want to be extremely specific. Immigration and border security polled extremely high from the age demographic of 65 plus. So the 35 to 55 range, was it not important to them? Yes, it was still important. But once we get to the age demographic of 65 plus, immigration and border security was one of their top priorities. Now, let's be very specific. The 65 plus demographic was not very broad. When we look at the numbers and we actually dim it down, that 65 plus age demographic is what? It falls mainly between males. Males who identify as what? Who identify as Republicans. Sound familiar? But up until this point, family, like we've only talked a lot about the differences. We haven't talked very much about the similarities. So now I want to talk a little bit about the similarities. So once again, family, across the board, doesn't matter, age demographic 18 through 35 plus or 35 to 55 plus. What can we all agree on? Every last one of us can agree on the fact that this shit is too damn high. Like, it's no other way to put it, family. Like, of course, we're not going to agree on everything. But something we can all agree on is the fact that I should not have to see it at the gas station and make executive life decisions about whether or not I'm going to fill my car all the way up or if I'm going to wait until Friday or the next payday to fill my car all the way up because I'm really not going anywhere but home and back to work. That's something we shouldn't have to be concerned about every single day. But let's just be honest, guys. For a lot of us, for a lot of people, that's the reality. Family, the whole reason why I want to tone in on these similarities after we talk about the differences is because I want us to understand that at our core, we are more alike than we are different. 2025 recent polling analysis conducted by Pew Research Center, it highlights something else extremely important that I want you guys to pay attention to. The Pew Research Center, according to their polling and data statistic, it shows that there is a broad dissatisfaction with both major political parties across the board. That's for adult ages 18 through 35 plus and 35 through 55 plus. So, family, again, at our core, we're pretty similar. We can all agree on a basic thing. If you guys are familiar with Tyler Perry, in one of Tyler Perry's films, Vicky says, you can't trust them, you can't trust them, you can't trust them. That's essentially what it is. 18 through 35 plus, 35 through 55 plus. They all feel that when it comes to political leaders, you can't trust them. Now, the same can be said for our perceptions. So when you have politicians going viral, either in or for something that, displays them negatively or that displays them in a negative light, it doesn't help to heal our already fractured relationships that we have with politicians. It only severs it further. Now, our distrust in politicians has never, ever, ever been shown more blatantly than in the 2024 presidential election between our now President Donald Trump and, at the time, Vice President Kamala Harris. So in the 2024 presidential election, guys, and again, don't be upset with me. This is the data. This is what the data is saying, family. The data is saying that age demographic 18 through 35 turned out at a rate of roughly 52%. 52%, guys. Now, when you compare that in comparison to a voter turnout rate of roughly 68% for age demographics of 35 plus, you can kind of see that. But the data pretty much tells us what we already know, family. Like most young voters, they haven't identified a political candidate or a leader that they really find relatable or one that they can resonate with. Or I'm just going to be honest. Maybe we hadn't even found one that's just going to be transparent and be honest. Now, of course, there are political leaders. I was like, don't get me wrong. There are most definitely politicians who have made strides in the age demographic of 18 to 35 plus, who's trying more to get people more engaged and to get younger people more excited and, to actually feel like a part of our political process. And, so we're aware of those politicians. I mean, like I said, as I mentioned earlier, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, our Congresswoman here in Dallas, Texas. Of course, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, you got Representative Justin Jones of Tennessee. If you guys don't, know these names that I'm talking about, again, hey, we about educating, enlightening, and entertaining. I want you guys to go check out a couple of these names. But Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Representative Justin Jones, and Mayor Randall Woodfin of Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama to be exact, just to name a few if you guys aren't familiar. Go check them out. But those are politicians, and I only named a few. There are a lot more who are actually trying to make strides to improve and, to help all of us 18 to 35 plus and just allow us to feel more included. Now, them getting involved and wanting us to be a part of the political process, family, hear me when I say it's not enough, guys. Like, we have to have more young people occupying these spaces or we will never, ever, ever see the divide weaken. Now, an issue that I primarily have with this, guys, and like I said, I'm just going to be honest, is I travel a lot with work and, between, family and, we all have responsibilities. So I travel a lot. And I'm someone who actually does follow politics pretty closely. Of course, in a heightened political climate, you kind of try and constrain and determine what it is you're going to watch and what you're not going to watch because it just seems like so much is coming at you at some point in time. But for someone who follows politics very closely, one of the main issues that I have is me being myself is why is it every time I see someone new running for office or running for Congress or running for Senate or running for city council, it always looked like somebody. No offense. Like I said, I love all of you. I love all of my listeners. I love everyone. But why is it every single time we see someone running for office, they look like they got one foot in the grave and the other foot out? Or if they're blessed enough to take care of themselves and look, like they're in pretty good health and in pretty good shape, why is it always an older person of the age demographic 55 plus, guys? Why? So I understand politics may be boring to you. It may not be as exciting to you. But when we talk about the issues that's plaguing us, 18 through 35 plus, who is more qualified to talk about those issues versus one of us? So, yes, guys, it's a ton of politicians making strides. But we got to do more if we want to see the divide weaken. Let's just keep it all the way a buck. But, guys, the main thing I want to come across is we got to first educate ourselves on the political system. So if I walk up to you randomly and I say, hey, who's your attorney general? Can you tell me? If I say, who's your mayor? Can you tell me? If I ask you the responsibilities and delegations of a governor versus the delegation of a mayor, can you tell me? Let's just be honest. A lot of us can't. Now, how is the system going to benefit us and help us? And how is it supposed to work for the benefit of all of us if we're not all involved? You get what I'm saying? But one thing is for sure, family, like, it really doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you land on, whether you choose you can agree with political leaders and you trust them, or whether you're on this side and you feel that you don't agree with politicians and you can't trust them, or you feel like, okay, yeah, I can trust you, but not all the way. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you fall on. One thing is for sure, we are going to need every single one of us to make it through this. That's for sure. But in closing, guys, I just want to say I've had so much fun doing episode 1. I want you guys to look out, because trust me, you're going to see a lot more of me, that's for sure. But first of all, I want to shout out the content that we used in tonight's episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. But our content in tonight's episode came courtesy of @Taj. That's TAHJ Hanks on Facebook. It came from @Daily, DAILY, Mail on TikTok, and it came from Daily, okay, @DAILLY, that updates on TikTok. So shout out to those guys for the content on tonight's episode. Really, really enjoyed it. But I want each and every one of you to know that I appreciate you more than you could ever know. But please, please, please subscribe to the podcast. And of course, we are available on wherever you choose to listen to your podcast, whether it be Apple, whether it be Google, whether it be Spotify, whether it be iHeartRadio, whatever, guys. Hey, I want you guys to follow us. Like I said, engage with us, leave comments. Only 3 rules: be fair, factual, and respectful. And another thing is, guys, when we do the audio recordings of this, like I said, this is also being, video recorded as well. So we're going to have visual recordings of the podcast as well. So I want you guys to check out our YouTube. Like I said, continue to engage, continue to let me know what you think about the show. The show will premiere every single Wednesday at 9:00 a.m. Central Standard Time. Okay? Now, for those of you who don't follow, time zones like that, we all got cell phones in our pocket. So just grab your cell phone, clock it in 9 a.m., and I guarantee you every Wednesday we're going to be there. But until next time, family, I want you to live bliss, stay safe, and remember, culture moves people, but politics decides outcome. We out. Peace.